And we are live on another edition of the K and K Sports Show, January 17th. I better know that because 17th is not today's not our anniversary, but the August 17th is, but I know the 17th, so I got to remember that day. 2024. We got a shorter crew tonight, but I'm going to get right to listen. We got tons to talk about. Huge NFL. We got NBA news. We got NFL news breaking as we speak. I don't know if you guys saw it. Mike McCarthy is coming back.
No,
So
I did not.
that is official. They will not make a move, so he is back. But I'm going to start this right off with the man of the hour. Congratulations to my friend, everybody's friend, Carson Shear. Carson, first off, congrats. And
Thanks.
second, you didn't let me down. I'm waiting for someone to be in the chat, and we know who he is.
Yep.
They let me down, and I had to go with another parlay starting. But Mr. Carson Shear, how are you? And you know what? Let's just get right into it. What was that experience like, man?
Oh, what's up, Kurt? What's up, Paul? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Kenny's joining in the chat. What's up, Kenny? Yeah, it was unbelievable. Literally, Sunday morning I woke up and I said to myself, I can't miss this game. So literally I pulled the trigger, bought the tickets the morning of, and the rest is history. I took my grandma down to Ford Field. We saw our first ever playoff game together because the last time they won one was 32 years ago. It was against Stafford. The crowd was absolutely electric. I sent you guys, obviously a bunch of videos. And yeah, it was crazy, man. It was a memory I'll never forget. And we were going crazy because the Packers, like you said, Kurt, they upset the Cowboys. So I thought that was going to be the only home playoff game the Lions are going to get. But we're coming back here again Sunday to face Tampa. So, who knows? I might pull the trigger again. I'm still debating, but it should be a crazy game. But so happy my Lions won. Just obviously this team was horrific for so many years, and just to see it live in person, it was really cool.
And there's Mr. Kirkpatrick. Hello, my three paisans, my three Goombas, my three amigos. Sorry, not there tonight, but I'm active in the comments. And Paul, before I get to, Carson, you mentioned that because, just obviously as being a Bronco fan, and you just, how many times in the past when you're like, all right, well, we're going to have this game here, whether it's a divisional round or a first round. And all right, well, we're going to go on the road and like, oh my God, like, wait a minute, we're going to be home again next week. Like it just expectations change. Listen, you're one game away from hosting a friggin' NFC championship game if things go right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, we can't believe it. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see where the cards fall into place. But we got to focus on Tampa. And then who knows, man, the Packers, they might do it. I still think San Fran's going to win. But hey, if just the fact, if we beat Tampa, we're literally one win away from going to a Super Bowl. So that would be just insane in itself.
Congratulations to you and all the Lion fans. Mr. Rosen.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, everybody out there. Kenny, we miss you. Hopefully see you next week. I'm sure we will. What can I say? What a weekend for football fans and especially for New York Giant football fans. But let's get to the important thing first. Carson, congratulations. The fact that you were there with your cool grandma and saw a Lions win is unbelievable. And you'll remember that for the rest of your life. Hopefully you'll get two more and the Lions will be in the Super Bowl for the first time. Next, let's go in order, and we'll get into it in a little bit more. But how about them Cowboys? You talk about choke artist, phony team, phony fans, the fact that they are so damn overrated and what they did, and I know we'll get into it, but I have a special tribute for the Cowboys. And when I say special, I mean funny special tribute later in the show. But then, if the weekend wasn't good enough, the coup de grace, the Philadelphia frauds, and I spell the fraud with the PH, the Eagles go down and just get their butts whipped by the Bucks down there in a game that was so one-sided, so what's the words? They were destroyed. They were demolished. They were positively, absolutely atrocious. So, as a Giants fan, it was a weekend that every Giants fan, I think, in the world probably relished.
But don't worry. You mean wait? You mean you're shocked that the Cowboys and Dak Prescott? By the way, Dak Prescott next year, $59 million.
Oh
Mm.
my goodness!
God,
No,
two wins, two
Wow.
playoff wins, two
listen, we
59 million.
we
Ooh.
all picked the Cowboys. The one guy who uh, picked the Packers is sitting right there, Mr. Shear. Congratulations! I said it in our group chat. You were the man. You picked them. And listen, we'll get into the games, but what a butt whipping, you know.
All
But
right,
we'll
Mr.
talk about
Rosen.
it.
So I know you got a huge agenda. So you're gonna
Yeah.
MC it. So wherever you want to go, you could take us.
All right. Well, I think we should start right with the Lions biggest fan. So let's go with Carson. And Carson, take us anywhere and everywhere where you want to go tonight.
Yeah,
Just
sounds good.
start off.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so I mean, I think we'll just jump right into it. We might as well pour gasoline on the fire since we're already talking about it. But yeah, obviously, two disappointing teams over the wild card weekend. This weekend, you had the Dallas Cowboys who got destroyed by the Green Bay Packers, and then you had our good friend Ryan Scoops, Eagles, just get totally embarrassed in Tampa as well. So. In your guys' opinion, who do you think was the more disappointing team over the weekend, the Cowboys or the Eagles? I'll start first. I picked the Packers, on our shows last week. So I kind of had a feeling that they were going to upset them. And sure enough, they did. Again, the Cowboys and Jerry Jones and, the playoffs, again, I said are a totally different animal. And I think Jordan Love, if he gets hot at the right time, watch out. I think it's the Eagles. This team, started off the year with 10 wins and they lost like 6 of their last 7 games, complete dumpster fire in Philly. And, I had the Eagles -3 and obviously they burned me on that. Shout out again to Baker Mayfield, for getting it done at home. We're going to be obviously facing them this weekend at Ford Field, but I think it's the Philadelphia Eagles. You talk about just, like I said, starting with 10 wins and then just total decline. Nobody saw that coming. They're the defending NFC champs, and they got eliminated first round of the playoffs. So I know they didn't have A.J. Brown, but that defense, again, Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator, I don't know how he still has a job. But yeah, crazy. I think the Eagles are more disappointing. But what would you guys say? I'll go to Kurt first.
Well, Carson, I'll tell you this. You had a -3. I had him +8, and I had to cash the hell out of there because that was ugly, man. It was ugly. I'm going to disagree a little bit because I think overall for the season, yeah, because they were 10-1, so I would say Eagles. But last week, I got to go Cowboys, man. You're home, okay? You're in your building. You're playing the Packers with a quarterback in his first playoff attempt. Right, you're coming. You got a present that the Eagles lost to Arizona, and you're the 2 seed. And basically, you got a present the week before with the gift call against the Lions. That 2 wins get you 1 playoff win gets you now a divisional game at home, and that's your performance. 59. There's our good friend Keith Brugman. Good evening, K&K Sports Show.
Hey, Keith.
Cowboys bar far more disappointing. And I just want to ask Keith, you still want Dak Prescott? Not at his salary now. He's going to $59 million. Wow. This guy, I'm going to say it again. He is not a winner. They will never win with him. He is, when you talk about garbage stats, he had 81 yards when the game was on the line. But they'll say, but he threw for 400. That's garbage. Garbage stats. They didn't mean anything. The Packers are sitting back, let him dump. When the game was on the line, he threw a pick. Then he threw a pick 6. He was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. They will never win with him. Me personally, I'm fine. Give me dead cap. Get him the hell out of here because you will not win with him. McCarthy comes back now. That's official. I'm sorry. This is on. People could say it's on the defense. You have CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Cooks. Look, you have an offense. Look what you got. Look what you got. And every year it's BS excuses from this guy. He is not a franchise quarterback. Okay, he's me personally, I'm not paying him $20 million for him. $60 million it's the worst contract in football. the absolute worst NFL contract in football is Dak Prescott getting
Mm.
$60 million. He's an average quarterback at best. And so Eagles are disappointing. We'll get into that later, but hands down, Dallas Cowboys.
Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, they were reeling the Eagles going toward the end of the season. Giants beat them the last game, but I agree with Kurt. You're home. You got the second seed. You haven't lost a home game all year. The last time you lost was the opening game of 2022. You're playing the youngest team in the playoffs, the Packers, of any team that made the playoffs this year. Jordan Love, his first game. You have a defense that's ranked top 5, top 3, offense top 5, top 3, defense, offense and defense, and you show that at home. That was inconceivable to me. The fact that the defense, okay, we know Dak is Dak, and we always joke, "Oh, here comes his turnovers." But the defense, where the hell was the defense? Where was Dan Quinn's defense? They never showed up. They were sleepwalking. It's like they must have been partying Saturday night. And the fact that Micah Parsons, the second coming of LT, where the hell was he the whole game?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he disappeared. So to me, the Cowboys thought they were just going to throw their helmets on the field and walk away with the win. I think it was the Cowboys.
And can I just say one more thing, Paul, because you made a good point. I'm sorry, Carson. I don't know if you agree, and Paul, if you agree, but I'm always a firm believer on, that's Dan Quinn's interview. I'm sorry, me. If I'm Seattle, so no way. That's your performance?
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna hire?
Yep.
Where's your adjustment? Rex Ryan was saying the other day, Green Bay is running it up and down the field, and he's playing 6 defensive backs. What the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm not hiring him. I'm not even interviewing him.
I'll throw one more thing in there. The whole year, their best defense was man-to-man defense. I couldn't understand why most of the game he went to his own defense. It didn't make sense to me why he chose this game as a game that he decides we're gonna go back and play zone. If he thought he was going to confuse Jordan Love, the only confusion was the players on his team.
Atrocious. Real quick, I want to get a couple comments, Carson, real quick. Albert Knoppers, Denver Bronco Roundup. Hello, football gurus. What's up, Albert?
Hey, Albert.
Saying, good evening, gentlemen. What is the Cowboys versus Eagles games this week? And Carson, congrats on the win. Best game of the weekend.
Thanks, Eddie.
Is Goff bigger than Stafford now in Detroit now that they got the playoff win? There's a question for you, Carson. What do you think?
I think 100% he is. We got there an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game started, and people are already. I mean, I think you guys might have heard it on TV. I mean, there was Jared Goff fans, Jared Goff. I mean, he's our guy. I mean, he's been the man, and he proved it. I mean, it was a question mark going into it. If he lost this game, are you going to extend him? He proved it.
Hey, Carson. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think Carson. I think we're all going down to Jarrett.
Yeah.
Comment from Keith. I'll answer this one. More wins next year. Who makes the playoffs next year? Dak or Wilson? Listen, mate. I will stand on my head. You tell me I need a playoff victory, Dak or Russell Wilson. Listen, mate. I'm taking Russell Wilson with Sierra over Dak Prescott. You got to be joking. This is excuse after excuse after excuse. And look at all the talent that this guy's got. He had the best offensive line for years. Zeke Elliott, receivers, CeeDee Lamb, number 1 defense. And this guy can't win playoff games. Give me Russell Wilson in a heartbeat. Eddie saying Quinn was practicing his head coaching interviews during the game. Keith is saying Deshaun Watson, the worst contract. Albert saying Deshaun Watson. Yeah, that's true. There's our good friend Clayton saying, hey, guys, smash that like button and share. What's up, Clayton? Keith is saying, Paul, Wink. How do you lose Wink?
Hey, a lot's gone down between these two guys. All the dirty laundry was coming out after he told Dable a certain phrase that we all know, and there's a lot of things that obviously they covered up throughout the course of the season. Uh, Wink ended his relationship in Baltimore, apparently in a similar situation. So he burns bridges, it seems. But yeah, I love the guy. I thought he was an excellent coach. I thought he was an attacking defensive coordinator. I loved his style of defense. But you move on.
Uh, Carson, question from Keith for you. Carson, does any current player surpass Barry Sanders if these Lions take home a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think this roster is special that Brad Holmes has built this year. I don't know if you guys, there was a viral video of our GM.
Yeah, I
Brad
saw it.
Holmes. He was screaming in the elevator, just going absolutely out of his mind, and he rightfully deserves it. I mean, he literally took over arguably the worst team in the history of professional sports and rebuilt it in 3 years. It's unbelievable what he's done. But I would say no, Keith. I think it would be amazing if we won a Super Bowl, but I don't think anybody's ever going to pass Barry.
Kenny wants to ask a question. He said off topic, but let's do it. I'll start with Carson. More impressive first playoff appearance, CJ Stroud or Jordan Love, Carson?
Yeah, I think, and that was one of our topics on the agenda that we might get to. If you look at the box score and the stats, I mean, they literally had identical stats, almost yard for Love and Stroud. They were both impressive. I would lean a little bit more towards Stroud, only because he's a rookie, where Love has had more of a NFL kind of vibe experience. He's been in the league a couple years, so he's kind of been used to the atmosphere. But I would go with Stroud.
This is not good because me and Carson are always like together on the answers, but I'm going to go a little opposite of him just because I'm going to say Love. Both were impressive, but just some of the plays that Love made, like some of the throws when you're just like, oh my God, like how, he's rolling to his right, throwing across his body. Again, both very impressive. I'm going to go a little Love. What do you got, Paul?
Yeah, I was gonna say Love. It's almost the push, like Carson said. Their statistics, it's crazy how literally I think there was 2 yards separating the yards passing, but everything else was literally right spot on. I mean, it was almost a push, but I'll give it to Love only because they were on the road. They were in Dallas playing against a supposedly excellent defensive team, young players. I mean, I think you may have seen those statistics. They had the most yards and touchdowns from first and second year receivers of any team since the merger, I think. I mean, that's crazy. So playing with all those youngsters, the fact that he was able to do that, I thought, it was 51-49 kind of percentage.
Kenny saying Jordan Love for me did it against the top defense as well, but because he was on the road and beat a team undefeated in the last 2 years at home.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Carson, so I think you're back.
Yeah, just kind of a final thought. Obviously, I was driving to the game, so I couldn't really I didn't know what the score was. I didn't know what was happening. So when we walked into the stadium, they had it all on the TVs, like near the bars and stuff, and they put it on the Jumbotron. And I'm checking my ticket into the game, and I squint my eyes and I look, and it says, does that say Green Bay 27, Dallas nothing? Like there was murmurs all around us. Like we couldn't believe the score. Like I picked the Packers, but I didn't think it was going to be 27-7 at the half. I mean, so going to your guys' point with the Cowboys, I mean, that's just pathetic as well.
Our good friend Trevor Salzman, Denver Bronco Roundup. Seems like Mr. Jerry Jones is the real issue with the Cowboys. Good owners hired trusted football people who know how to build a strong roster and strong culture. McCarthy continues to look over his shoulder.
Interesting. But yeah, that's kind of my thought for who was more disappointing, Eagles and Cowboys. As a Lions fan, I love that both of them are out because those are two teams that, I did not want to face in the playoffs. And, it makes the Lions path a little bit more friendlier. So I love it that they're both out. But yeah, we can go back to the list, Kurt, if you want to take something off of it.
All right. What I wanted to do, I wanted to do a little old school. I want to do a couple quick hitters with all sports, Paul. Can I do it real quick? It'll take 2 minutes.
Absolutely. We have an open agenda.
We always did this. We always used to do this. I want to get the show in a little flow. Just real quick answer. So we're going to start this. Again, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 7, but it'll be yes or no answers. Here we go. I'm going to go Carson and Paul for all the ones. Carson, right now, if you had to lay a bet down, Dodgers or the field to win the World Series?
The field.
Paul.
Field.
Okay. Carson, are Paul and I, are Paul, Kenny, and my New York Knicks legit NBA title contenders?
Yes, I had doubts about Jalen Brunson. You guys giving him that big contract. He is a legit point guard in the NBA.
Paul.
I'm going to say hesitantly yes.
Okay.
I got to see more.
Caitlin Clark. I think I'm saying her name right.
Mhm.
Iowa basketball player, Carson. Will she go down as the best women's player of all time after this season?
I think 100%. I mean, she literally single-handedly, I think, will save the WNBA when she gets drafted.
Paul.
She hits shots that Stephon Curry would be jealous of, I swear. So yeah, I think so.
All right. When I use the word in trouble, I mean not up to Bama standards. Is Bama in trouble without Saban? Carson.
Yes.
A lot of people transferring. Paul.
22 transfers as of today. Yes, I definitely do.
Eddie's asking if the Nets could take Clark in the NBA draft. Carson, will there be another coach this year in the NFL? Today, McCarthy didn't get fired, but will there be another NFL firing?
Yes, there will be.
Paul.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Carson, do you agree with today's news that the New York Mets are going to be retiring Gooden and Strawberry's jersey number?
Yes.
Paul, you're the Met fan.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Uncle Stevie has brought a more historical tradition to them. It just frustrates me because these two guys should have been longtime Mets, all-time Mets, no other team. It's just frustrating that they weren't, but I'm glad that they are receiving finally the recognition that they should be from the organization.
Okay, my last quick hitter, and you guys want to get us in a little flow. I'm going to start this one off. If you guys don't know, our good friend Kenny did own a horse. He was a horse owner.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he did. He'll tell you some stories. But yes, he did. He did own a horse.
Wow.
So if Kenny owned another horse, what would and he could name the horse, what would it be? I'm going to go with, I'm going to take a nap, because every time you talk to him, I'm going to take a nap. So in mine, it's that. Carson, give me a name right now that Kenny's horse should be, that you know Kenny.
I think he'd name one after Sis, so I'll say Big Sis.
That's good.
Mr. Rosen.
Well, since he had one horse and now he has another, if he would have another horse, his initials are KK. So I would name the second horse K squared.
There you go.
Nice.
Eddie's saying, if the Texans didn't have such a good year, Carson, would Dan Campbell be up for Coach of the Year?
I think he is. And like I said, if this question gets back around to me, I don't know if it made the agenda or not. But yeah, I think, if Stefanski with the Browns and D'Amico Ryans with the Texans were out of the question, he'd easily win it.
Keith's saying, gents, if you could redraft any spot for your NFL team in the last 5 years, you would have taken. Well, we haven't had first round picks, so who would you take? Like, is there anybody, Paul, like you would say, I wish the Giants went blank over blank? Last 5 years, he's saying.
Last 5. If I can stretch it to 6, the Giants had the second pick. They took Saquon. I love Saquon to death. I hope somehow they keep him for the rest of his career. But I think they should have traded back and wound up taking Quentin Nelson, the guard from Notre Dame.
Our good friend Ryan Scoop Woodham says, appears Sirianni is staying. He's saying, send Patricia to the bus nation, put Rex in his DC, and let him hire his staff as he sees fits. I want proven coaches. Keith is saying, stretch it to 6. Well, if it's 6, then I guess I got to go with Josh Allen too, right? I mean, I would have to say Josh, because that's the same draft, right? Barkley and
Yeah.
Josh
Yeah.
Allen. So, I mean, I guess I would have to say Josh Allen over Bradley Chubb. Hey, that was a mistake. That was a mistake for Elway. Carson, you have one?
Yeah, I think when we drafted Jeff Okuda with the with our first round pick a few years ago, that was a big mistake. There was a lot of guys in that draft that I wish I would have considered, but it is what it is.
Oh,
I'm
can
sorry.
can I change my selection?
Sure.
When the Giants saw that the Eagles was going to swoop in and get Devontae Smith, and they still had a chance to
Parsons,
take,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
Kenny's saying I would start a stable and the first female would have to be Bella the Bear, followed by foot in the mouth for Kurt because he always puts his foot in his mouth. And then he's saying Micah Parsons over Contavious
Yeah, Tony.
Tony. So, okay.
Exactly.
Mr. Rosen, I don't know if
All right.
I wanted to do a little of rapids to get us going.
Yeah, no, that was good because this will go into the next category of questions. So obviously, last week, one of the great coaches, maybe the GOAT of all time, wound up separating from New England. Bill Belichick is now a free agent, and got me thinking about dynasties. And I wanted to ask you guys questions about that. So my first question to you is, will there or could there ever be another dynasty in football like the Patriots? Carson?
I think arguably you could consider the Chiefs with Andy Reid and Mahomes. I mean, they already won 2. We'll see how far they get this year. I think the closest to the 6 Super Bowl wins that Belichick and Brady won, you could consider Mahomes and Reid, but they still got a long way to go. So right now, I would say no.
Okay. Kurt?
I want to get this comment from Eddie because I saw this today on Twitter and I don't know his name offhand, but he's saying rest in peace to the Warriors assistant. Forgot
Oh,
his
yeah.
name. He died of a heart attack at age 46. That is, I
Yeah.
did see that today, and rest in peace to obviously him, his family, and the Golden State family. But I was following that. They canceled the game early on, and then the news came out that he passed away. So yeah, definitely rest in peace. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no because I think that's once in a, listen, ever. I mean, I'm going to say in our lifetime, I'm going to say no. I don't think it's going to happen. I think, I've always said like championship windows are like 4 years and then it's okay, reboot. And, all these people that say, well, we have this quarterback for 17 years. It's not going to work like that. It hasn't worked right. It didn't work for the Cowboys with that group and it didn't, it's not going to work. You can see Mahomes already. And I know people are going to look at me, but you could see the decline. He's not who he was a couple years ago. He's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to say no. I'm going to say, especially NFL, absolutely not. It's not going to happen.
And I agree with you, Kurt. And I think to me, the other impacting aspect of it is the coach. You just don't see coaches coaching one team for that long a period of time. They get a year or 2 to prove themselves. If they don't prove themselves, it's what have you done for me lately? And you're out. So if a coach goes even 2, 3 years and all of a sudden they have one bad year, maybe another half a year, next thing you know, the owner is okay, move on, next. We'll get a new coach.
Can I add one more thing? I'm sorry, Paul. I want to add one more thing. And you know what, too? And I talk about it, like all the time. It's the quarterback money, right? Like people got to remember when Brady did it. I mean, he wasn't even the top. He wasn't even getting the most money on his team, right? So, and that's hats off to him. Like now, like we're talking about like Mahomes, 50 million. Like it's not going to happen. Like first off, those guys aren't generational great quarterback. There's not. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not even putting, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, these guys haven't won anything and they're getting all this money. And now it's like, well, who's going to help them? Well, who's going to help them? Because you're paying these guys $60 million. Like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts isn't a $60 million quarterback. So when you're getting those salaries like that, absolutely, you're not going to have franchises like that.
That's a good
no
point.
way.
Yeah. No, very good. So in terms of the Patriots, do you think the Patriots, we talked a little bit about the Chiefs and maybe a couple other teams, but do you think the Patriots are the greatest football dynasty of all time, Kurt?
I'm gonna say, yeah. I mean, I would also look to those 49ers, like those with the Montanas and that
Hmm.
stuff. And you probably, when you look at like Montana and Rice and the guys they had were probably better players, like when you go player by player and stuff like that. But how could you not? I mean, they were so good for so long, and it was like plug and play. Wes Welker's out, here comes Amendola. Amendola comes out, here comes Edelman. Here comes, like, I don't know. Listen,
Yeah,
you got to give Brady his credit. You got to give the system credit. You got to give Belichick his credit. Just it all worked together. So I'm gonna say they are. Yes.
yeah. How about you, Carson?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, they're the greatest. And like Kurt said, you could argue the Niners when they won a couple, the Steelers in the '70s were close, but I think 6 Super Bowls with Brady and Belichick, that's just so hard to beat.
I'm
Yeah,
going to read a comment from Trevor, Paul.
yeah,
Tom Brady is the all-time GOAT for a reason. You don't see quarterbacks like Brady and Manning playing elite for as long as they do. Free agents come to organizations because Brady and Manning. I'm going to make this statement one more time. You guys agree or disagree with me? I'll start with Carson.
I think I know where you're going with this.
I am not
mm.
going to listen. I refuse to say Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time because he's not. He's pure not. John Elway was a better quarterback than him. Peyton Manning. Tom Brady had the best career as a quarterback, but he is not. I'm sorry. He didn't have all those physical skills. He's not, when you put it all together, he's not. He had the best career, but he's not the best quarterback. Agree or disagree, Carson?
Again, I didn't see Elway play growing up, so I'd have to watch more of his highlights to see. I mean, obviously you're the diehard Bronco fan, Kurt. I think Elway's definitely Mount Rushmore QB in my opinion. But I mean, to me, growing up, I mean Brady was the guy. I mean, every other year it seems like he was in the Super Bowl. Everybody was so frustrated, like we got to get Brady out, and that's how dominant he was. So I think it's Brady, but I'll have to go back and get a history lesson.
Paul, what about you? Am I crazy to make the statement of best career, but not best overall quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, the word best could be very subjective. Quite honestly, I'll throw in another name who people could probably argue and say he was the best. You could put Dan Marino in that category as
Yeah.
maybe he's the best quarterback, and obviously he
Yeah.
never won a Super Bowl. You're slicing hairs when you talk about a Brady, Elway, a Manning, a Marino. I mean, very, very, very close. Obviously, the other point I want to make that you started to make, Kurt. Obviously, Brady, all the accolades he deserves, goes down to Tampa and wins a Super Bowl down there. But the idea that what Belichick did throughout that whole time that they were winning, he looked at his personnel, and obviously you had Brady, but maybe we're not a passing team. We become a run team. Maybe instead of using Randy Moss as our outside main threats, we use a Wes Welker. We use a Edelman. So the fact that they were able to interchange and he was able to manipulate and roll with the types of personnel that he had, I think is it just, you just look at him and you have to say the way he utilized his personnel was just an outstanding, amazing job for a guy like that.
You know what, too, and I'll piggyback off of that for a second, Paul. Is that the thing where I just give him respect? And I know, and Josh McDaniels was abysmal as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator, just like you said, you would watch the Patriots in those years, and boom, they're throwing it 52 times. The next week, they're running, like there was it has to be like
Mm-hmm.
this. It was, hey, what's going to work? Listen, Tom Brady, you might have 100 yards this week. The next week, you might have 440. But we're going to do, just like you said, what's best to win this game. We have to do it this way. We're going to do it all kinds of ways. So you got to give them respect for that.
Yep. So my last question is an interesting one. Given the Patriots dynasty and what they've accomplished, are they the greatest sports dynasty in sports history. And I just looked up a few other dynasties, and I'll just throw these out just to get you thinking. Um, the Yankees of the 50s won 8 American League pennants and 6 championships. The Celtics of the late 50s and 60s, they won 8 straight championships, 11 out of 13 final championships. The Showtime Lakers of the 80s were in the finals 8 times, won 5 championships. Michael Jordan's Bulls, 6 championships in the 90s. Uh, for hockey, uh, the Islanders of the 80s won 4 straight Stanley Cup championships. The Steelers of the 70s, I think Carson may have mentioned the Steelers. Do you think they are the greatest dynasty, or is there even anyone else that you might think of that might even be even greater than them? Carson?
Yeah, when you said dynasty, Paul, I was thinking of Bulls too, of Jordan in the '90s. Again, Last Dance, I think, is the greatest sports documentary ever. That just goes into so much detail and depth of all the adversity they went through, the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, Jordan was unstoppable that year. So I would say the Bulls are a close second, but yeah, Patriots, I think, yeah, I'll say Patriots, but Bulls are close second.
How about you, Kurt?
Listen, it's hard because like you said, you mentioned all those Yankee teams, right? How about the UConn women? I mean, you're talking year after year after undefeated. Like, I mean, just undefeated, right? You talk about UCLA with John Wooden and stuff like that. But
great points.
Listen, I'm gonna put the Patriots up there, but I'm gonna put the Bulls first, man. I mean, you know what? Those last whenever they won the 3 and then Jordan retired, like the only time they lost really once they won the first one is when he retired and then he came back. You couldn't beat them in those 6 years. And like what they went through with the Pistons and the Knicks and just like the poundings and just like Carson said, you watch that Last Dance of just all the stuff they went through. And again, take nothing against New England. I mean, that's a dynasty. Again, I don't think we're ever going to see it, but I don't know. I'm going to put the Bulls a little ahead of them. Coach Breslin saying, I agree with you, Paul. From a coaching standpoint, some of the things that they were able to change with the personnel was unbelievable. Brady by far the best, not the most athletic, agreed, but things he accomplished were amazing. Coach Breslin, UConn women were amazing as well. UCLA, great dynasties. Bulls, Patriots. I think each sport is a little different. Trevor is saying, let me get to Trevor. He didn't have to be athletic. Brady was a big reason why the Patriots won Super Bowls. Brady had 7 Super Bowls. Nobody was close. I love Elway, but he wasn't as successful as Brady was as far as winning. Keith is saying 49ers need some love going from Montana to Young.
Yeah. I mean, the other aspect of this, and then we've always talked about players playing in different eras. Can this player play in a current sport? The eras were different. The Yankees of the 50s, they won the pennant. They just went right to the World Series. There were no playoffs getting into the World Series. So, they won the pennant. That was it. They played the Dodgers, the Giants, whoever, and they were the champs. Now, especially, and then even the Celtics of the 60s and late 50s, maybe they played one series and then the winner played the other division, and that was it. Where now you're playing 3-4 series to win the title. So, a lot of it is very, very difficult to compare apples and oranges sometimes.
Kenny's saying Bills, the dynasty that could have been with Kelly, Thomas, Bruce Smith, and Marv Levy leading the way to 4 consecutive losses. Carson, if they won even one of those, are they in any consideration that they went to 4 in a row?
Yeah, I think so. Again, this year, I would love to see a Bills Lions Super Bowl because both of those franchises have been through so much. I mean, the Bills, I can't even imagine losing 3 straight Super Bowls in a row. I mean, that's got to be just heart wrenching as a fan.
They lost 4.
4 in a row.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a Bills Lions would be great to see. But, 4 Super Bowl appearances, that's legit in itself.
Well, you guys know, Kenny and I picked the Lions and the Bills in the Super Bowl, so we'll see what happens. All right, that was it for me. Carson, you want to go to another topic?
Yeah, so I touched on it briefly a little bit 20 minutes ago, but just kind of a quick rapid fire. We won't spend too much time on this, but the awards in the NFL, they come out, I think, a week before the Super Bowl happens. You got obviously Coach of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Most Valuable Player. All of the odds that the sports books gave everybody was during the regular season, but you can no longer bet on them because the playoffs are now happening. But do you guys, in your opinion, do you think that the award should be factored into not only just the regular season, but the postseason as well? Because I believe as it stands right now, I think the committee or whoever votes on these awards, I think it's strictly based on just regular season. But I think, in my opinion, I'll answer the question. I think it should be playoffs. Again, Kurt and I say it all the time. It's not what you do in the regular season. You earn your money in the postseason. And I think all these awards, all these guys, all these players, these athletes, when all the eyeballs are on, it's prime time, you're playing for Super Bowls, I think that's when you give the guy the award, not just based in the regular season. I think it plays a factor, but I think playoffs, what more do you want? That's how you win championships. You can't win championships if you don't make the playoffs. So I think it should play a factor. Unfortunately, it doesn't, but I think it should. Paul, really quick, yes or no? Do you think playoffs should be in consideration, or is it just regular season?
I don't, and I'll just use the example of Saquon Barkley when he got drafted. He was Rookie of the Year in 2018, and the Giants were not a good team that year. So they would not have made the playoffs. It's almost, in my opinion, it's almost unfair that if a player who's a good rookie or an MVP candidate gets into the playoffs, it only enhances his ability, whereas players who may not are in his team is not in the playoffs may not necessarily have that advantage as a player who's in the playoffs. So I think it's just the regular season.
Kurt.
You know what, Carson? I'm with you on this one. Rookie of the Year is a little different, I think, Paul, because there's not many rookies, right? Like, if you really look at it, like the Lions had a great draft class. So, okay, you got Gibbs and, that whole group of rookies. But a lot of teams, they don't really have, the 49ers really, who's their rookie? You know what I'm saying? So that's a little different. But MVP, like, I don't understand, like, how, unless, like, I'm just going to throw this out there, like, say Bryce Young was, brought the team to 11-6 or something like that, and you didn't make the playoffs. But how could you be the MVP if you're not even in the playoffs? Like, what like, that's why I laugh, like, Mike Trout MVP. How? They stink. Like, right. I don't understand. Like, what is he doing to getting the team over the hump? Ohtani is a little different. He pitches, but like Mike Trout's like, I don't know. You have those two guys on the team. Like, I wouldn't give them any votes if they can't get to the playoffs with those two guys. They should be winning 100 games with those two guys, best players in baseball. So I'm with you, Carson. I think this is where, think about anybody who says Dak Prescott. You're going to vote for Dak Prescott? You're going to vote for Jalen Hurts after that? After that performance? Not me. Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to go to a couple comments, Kurt?
Yeah, we'll do a couple of comments. Kenny saying, great question, Carson, that I thought long and hard about, especially Coach of the Year and MVP, Rookie of the Year. If they're on a crappy team and he does well, then he shouldn't be penalized for not being in the playoffs. Coach Breslin saying, I think it does enhance the opportunity to see what they do in the playoffs. Kenny saying, because Dak was in consideration after regular season for MVP. Are you voting for Dak? LOL. After that performance? No way. Jenny Hoops saying, hi, fellas. What's going on, Jenny?
Hey,
Hoops?
Jenny. You know what? I have go ahead, finish, and then I have a suggestion that they should.
Coach Breslin saying, no way he's voting for Hurts or Dak. Eddie's asking, Paul, Siakam, big trade. Does that put him in the top 3 in the East? Siakam goes to the Pacers today.
Yeah, it was an excellent deal for them. I think they have a legitimate chance to get to. I'm not saying Buffalo, Bucks or Celtics, but you got to consider them right up there now.
And now we got to answer back. We got to come back with somebody.
What I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead, Paul. Yep, go ahead.
If they did it where they included the playoffs, what I would do then, if I was the NFL, announce before the first playoff games, these are the candidates for the MVP and the coach of the year.
Hmm.
So they're out there. So everyone knows that, okay? And if they want to include the playoffs, all right, here's the names: Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, and then Christian McCaffrey, whatever. And then you see, all right, who's gonna meet the rubber meets the road with the playoffs, and these are the guys that are on the list of MVP or Coach of the Years.
Just like, in all honesty, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but nothing against Jaden Daniels, but how how is he the
Yeah,
Heisman Trophy winner? First
yeah.
off, he's not the best player in college football because if he was, he'd be going one. He's not going one in the draft.
Hmm.
So the team was a colossal failure. I don't want to hear, oh, well, he scored 50 points a game. Not versus Florida State, he didn't. Not versus Alabama, he didn't. So where do you get all these yards and stuff like that? So it's the
Hmm.
same thing. I don't know. That's me.
Yeah.
Keith is asking, I'll go to Carson. Is there a team that would consider Bill Belichick their second choice, Carson?
Second choice. Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to see what's going to happen, with teams like the Chargers and the Eagles and the teams that are, dealing with coaching state changes right now. So I think there are a couple teams out there, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
All right, Mr. Rosen, do you want to, Mr.
All right.
Kirkpatrick just texted me and he said, you guys should get to your divisional round predictions.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Is that
Thank
okay,
you.
Paul? You want
Yeah,
to go something
absolutely.
else?
Go
You
ahead.
know what?
No.
And he's even working from work. That we got to give Kenny props on that.
He does. He gets two checks. He gets two checks. So Kurt, you want to do that? We'll go
Yeah, I'll do
to the
that. Let's do
division.
it real quick. Let's go game
Yeah.
by game.
Okay.
AFC, it starts 4:30. The surprising Houston Texans go to Baltimore, Carson. Just we're not going to do spreads, whatever. Just
Okay.
what do you think? Who comes out of there? And, who do you like advancing?
I think the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in football. I mean, they proved it a couple weeks ago when they went into San Fran, beat the living hell out of them. And, again, CJ Stroud, love him, great season. He's not going to go into Baltimore against that defense and win that game. I hope it happens as a football fan, but realistically speaking, Ravens, there's no way they lose this game. After the bye week, getting the 1 seed, they're in their own building. There's no way.
Yeah, I'm with you again. This is another, I'll get to another AFC game in a bit, but a legacy game for Lamar Jackson. He cannot lose this game. He cannot lose this game. You're at home. Hey, hats off to Houston. Those guys are doing tremendous over there. CJ Stroud, surprising, but you're going on the road. You're playing one of the best defenses in football. You had a week off. You cannot lose this game. If you do, there's a lot of questions around this quarterback. So I am going to take, I could see him hitting a couple plays over the top, CJ Stroud, but I'm going to take Baltimore. Paul.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys just said, the Ravens cannot lose this game, and Lamar Jackson better not lose this game. He's got to come out. But you know what? We've seen teams not play the opening round of the playoffs. They come in after the bye, and it takes a while to get them going. So I think the Texans right now, man. I know Kurt hates this expression, but I'm going to use it anyway. They're playing with house money right now. I mean, no one expected them to win the division. No one expected them to get to the playoffs. No one expected them to now win a playoff game. So whatever the hell they do, it's hey, they'd have a fantastic year. So they can go in there loosey goosey and go in there and do anything they want. And the expectation is the Ravens win the game. I think the Texans are going to keep it close, but I think ultimately the Ravens not just will win, but they better win this game.
Kenny's saying, I think it's close first half, but they make a few plays. Baltimore advances. Eddie's saying Lions and 49ers, Baltimore and Bills. Trevor's saying, not sure Belichick gets a head coaching job this offseason. May need to take a year off. Biggest question for me with Belichick is who will be his OC and how much control does he want the roster? Eddie's saying, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers upset the Niners. That leads us right into Saturday night, 8:30. Packers at 49ers. I'm going to start this one off. This is where I think you see coaching. This is where I think you see better quarterback. They're not going to let what happened last week, right? The Packers last week up and down the field. Because again, how do you win in the postseason? You run the ball and play defense. And then people are going to say, yeah, but Jordan Love Jordan Love had big passes. Right. He had big passes because they ran the ball. And now, since they couldn't stop Aaron Jones, now we got to bring people up. And now it's wide open. I mean, wide open those guys were. 49ers aren't going to play this game. Okay. You got Kyle Shanahan. You know what they're going to do. Line it up and run it right down Green Bay's throat. We're going to play action it. We'll go over the top with Debo and that group. We'll shut down the run game. Their defense will come to play. This is the game where I think it's like, oh my God, look at Green Bay. Look how high they went. And now it's better coaching staff, better quarterback play, better overall. This is where I think it's like back to reality. I think the 49ers big in this game. I just think, listen, they're prime. They've been the best team in football for the past 4 years without a championship. Again, a team they cannot afford to lose this game. I'm going to take 49ers. Carson.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kurt. Again, you're just seeing the best of the best right now. Similar with the Ravens. Got the 1 seed coming off the bye. Christian McCaffrey was banged up. He's all rested. He's ready to go. I think you could, going back to MVP, I think he's arguably the best player in football. There's nobody that can stop him. Any defensive lineman, he's just way too much talent. Kyle Shanahan, Debo Samuel, Ayuk, Bosa, Young, Fred Warner. I mean, they're just totally loaded everywhere, and which is why I think they're my Super Bowl winner this year, because of Brock Purdy's contract, that they can afford to pay all these other superstars, and that's the way you do it. You draft a rookie quarterback, you hope he's on a cheap deal, and you can pay your other guys, and that's why the 49ers are so good. So 49ers are going to win.
Coach Breslin saying this is how it works: run, play action, and play D. Mirror images of each other. Who can execute the most? And by the way, something I saw today, Paul and Carson, I didn't know. They said there's a lot of bad blood between LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan. If you look, like a couple of the shaking hands, like it was like, quick. So that's something to keep in mind where, listen, Shanahan, better team. We'll put it on you a little bit. Paul, what's your prediction here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with you guys with the 49ers. Definitely the better team. But let me just add one more thing. We talked about Dan Quinn and the defense. Matt LaFleur and his coaching staff totally outcoached the Mike McCarthy, the Dan Quinns, and their whole staff last week. So I forgot to mention that, but now that we're talking about that, without a doubt. But it comes down to what the 49ers do best. I think the Packers will move the ball a little. I think they will surprise some people. Maybe a half, they'll keep it a little close, but ultimately talent wins. The 49ers probably have the best talent, at least in the NFC, if not all of football. They wind up winning the game.
Kenny saying, I believe in momentum. Packers have it. That being said, 49ers have a loaded roster. 49ers win a close game in the fourth and escape a scare. Coach Breslin saying, all about egos with these guys, I am sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Kurt and Paul, I'll say this right now. Packers beat the 49ers. Lions have to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, there is absolutely zero excuse. That is by far the most favorable path out of any team in football. Rams home, Bucks now home, and then hypothetically, if the Packers won, Packers at home, 3 home playoff games against not even the best teams in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl.
And you know what? And you know what, Carson? Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, Carson, be careful what you wish for. Remember Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but you know what? I was just going to say that I think plays into Detroit's hands.
Right.
Because if you could get them at home, and because you know what? I know you guys lost at Chicago, but what was that embarrassing game? At home, Thanksgiving. That's where people started questioning you. If you could get them in a championship game in your building,
payback.
Well, and that's just it. Like, I'd have weird feelings because if the Packers won, it'd be amazing because we'd be home again if we beat the Bucks. And like Eddie Murphy's saying, we got to focus on the Bucks this week first, not jump the gun. But, I'd be afraid to play the Packers. I mean, hypothetically, they beat the Cowboys on the road. They beat arguably the best team in football on the road. And then, they beat us before, like Paul said, on Thanksgiving. That would be, that'd be a hell of a game. I mean, NFC Championship against our biggest rival. I mean, that would be a movie. That'd be crazy.
Okay, I'll start with the next one. Obviously, I believe it's a 2:00 start Eastern time. Is that correct, Carson? 2:00 on Sunday. Detroit Lions. I thought it's 2:00.
3 p.m.
3 p.m. 3 p.m. Sorry, 3 p.m. Eastern. your Detroit Lions hosting the Tampa Bay Bucks. Listen, I'm a firm believer in that things line up the right way, right? And now instead of we got to go back to Dallas and all this, you're home. So, hey, there's no, it's not your problem Dallas couldn't win. It's not going to be an easy game. Tampa Bay has a lot of playmakers. Baker Mayfield is playing with confidence. Tampa Bay is still a Super Bowl. There's still people here who won a Super Bowl a couple years ago, but not in that building, man. That, I think the toughest game, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you guys got to go to San Francisco, that's going to be tough. But the pressure of last week's games for the Lions, just like you said, Goff isn't getting an extension if you don't win that game. Right? That he had to play, right? Dan Campbell, just like you said, if you lose that game, everything you've done is a waste. And you know what? You didn't. You did it. The Rams came at you. The Rams, late in that game when you guys needed to make plays, that game was like, that's over. I think you're going to see the Lions a lot better this week because there's going to be, not that there's no pressure, but less than, you couldn't lose to that guy in your building. You couldn't. And you did it. You got by. I think you're going to be a little more relaxed. I think the Lions are going to win 10, 13 points comfortably. I think you get it done. And I think, Carson, you're going to an NFC Championship game. I'll save you for last. Paul.
Yeah. The Bucs impressed me last week. I didn't expect them to overwhelm the Eagles the way they did, but the Eagles were in a free fall and they played as bad a game as you can ever expect. But I have to give the Bucs credit. Baker Mayfield, never been a fan, but he came out and he was throwing bullets. Quite honestly, if the Bucs hadn't dropped 3 or 4 or 5 passes, that game would have been even worse of a blowout. They had a couple of plays that if they connected, they would have resulted in long touchdowns. But that all being said, Lions right now are in the best position they've been in a long, long time. They've got to capitalize it. I think you have the best coach right now to make them understand this is their opportunity to advance to maybe the first Super Bowl that you guys will ever be in. And I think Dan Campbell will not allow your team to get too overexcited. They'll play for the moment, and they beat the Bucs. And then, hey, if they have to fly out to San Francisco or somehow if the Packers win, they'll be ready. But I think this is the game that they're going to take it to them. They'll win, and you're going to see them. You're going to see the Lions in the championship game.
And listen, this is your team. This is your show. This is your time, Mr. Carson. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, like Joey said, it kind of scares me that we're all on the same page. I don't want to jinx myself here, but I think we're going to win this game. When we beat Tampa earlier in the season, it was at Tampa. We didn't have Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery got hurt in the second quarter of that game. We didn't have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's one of our best defensive players. Again, we can't overlook the Bucs still. I mean, like Paul said, they had a great game a couple days ago at home against a good Eagles team. And, we got to get it done. I think we're 6.5 point favor right now. It's going to be a close game first half. You can't lose to Baker Mayfield to get to a NFC Championship game. So I think I'm thinking like a 13 to 14 point win. I think like a 27 to 17 type kind of game. I think the Lions get it done.
All right, couple comments. Eddie Murphy saying word is the Jets have scouts going to each Packer game. They want to see if they can get Jordan Love in 2036. Eddie Mark Calderio's checking in. Kenny's saying, I think the Lions win convincingly. Bucks played an Eagles team that gave up and gave up weeks ago. Like Kurt said, around a 10-point victory for the Lions. Trevor's saying Niners, Houston, Chiefs, and Lions win this weekend. Houston has momentum. Absolutely don't want the Chiefs to win, but Bills struggle to get it done against the Chiefs in the playoffs. 49ers are just too good on both sides of the ball. I'm a bit worried about your Lions, Carson. It is going to be a closer game than some may think. Bucks aren't going to go down easy. Mark Calderio is saying Packers, baby. Mark Jr. is loving it. Eddie is saying Eagles. Hold on one sec. I'm sorry. let me get that comment. My computer's. I'll get back to it. David Burns is saying he's watching from Cedar Hills, Texas. What's up, Dave?
Hey, David.
Keith is saying, do you bench Dak and start Cooper Rush? That would tell you the value of Dak. Would I play Cooper Rush? No, because I don't play backups in the league. But bye, Dak. 60 million. Talk about people with pay cuts. No, I don't pay him more than $25 million a year. Dave is saying, I'm so happy the Cowboys lost to the Packers. And he's saying Cowboy fans throughout thought they were doing something. LOL. All right, last one. Sunday night, people are saying it's going to be the best game of all. Kansas City goes into Buffalo, for a rematch of one of the best playoff games we've probably ever seen a couple years ago. I'll just start this one off. Legacy game, absolutely must win. I'll be honest with you. Sean McDermott gets fired, in my opinion. And I'm firing him if he can't win this game. You're at home in a divisional playoff. You lost to them a couple years ago. You complained about this. You complained about that. You're in your building. You're playing a Chief team. This Chief, let's be honest, they're not good. They're not. I'm sorry. They're not good. We talk about, they beat the Dolphins last week. The Dolphins, I mean, those guys had Parker jackets on. They wanted no part of being there. That's why they won that game. I'm sorry. You saw the blueprint. You saw it in Denver. Line up and run it right down that soft Kansas City's team. Okay? Am I going to say Mahomes is no good? No. Is he declining? Yeah. He is. I'm sorry. Sorry, Keith and those guys. He is. He's not the guy he was 2-3 years ago. The guy, you got Kelsey, the guy, again, he's in love. He's wearing jackets, sending flowers, taking Pfizer shots and doing all that. He's lumbering up the field. You can't stop him. I'm sorry. You can't come up with a plan. You're gone, McDermott. Super Bowl windows are 3-4 years. This is your last window. You're at home. People are going to be throwing people through tables. You can't win this game. You're done. You're done. Josh Allen, you too. You got the better team. You got the better talent is on your team. Win the damn game. Buffalo wins the game. Carson.
Again, I got to throw in an upset. And, as much as I can't stand the Chiefs, I think Buffalo, 2.5 point favorite. Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes in the playoffs. I mean, he's on a mission. I think, they're in the dance now. They've beat this team before in the past. Like you said, Kurt, I agree. If Bills don't win this game, I think McDermott's gone as well.
I was going to ask you, Carson, you get rid of him?
Yeah. There's been just too many times where they just have become so close. This has been a bigger rivalry in the AFC, and they have to win. But I think, the NFL, again, I think they're biased because this whole Kelsey Taylor Swift story, they're going to keep it going as much long as they can. And I think the Chiefs, they might get a couple calls their way, and I think the Chiefs are going to win this game.
And Kenny's calling it. For me, it's simple. Bills stick to a run first game plan. They win. They try and get fancy and throw it 40 times. They lose. Bills win. Bill, again, do what got you there. Run the ball. And then let Josh Allen make a couple of plays. That's how you're going to win. Don't get into, I'm going to throw it 50, 60 times. You saw what happened in Dallas. Paul.
Yeah, short and sweet. I think the Bills are going to win. This is their revenge game from 2 years ago. Like you said, they're at home. I thought Sean McDermott was going to be gone after last year losing at home, but obviously he got the pardon by the warden. But the fact of the matter is, this is their opportunity. I think Josh Allen actually is probably playing the best football of his career, maybe the way he's been playing at least the last half of the season. And we talked about coaching and manipulating the way in styles. You noticed the beginning of the year, the Bills were more, let's throw the football, let's get it to Diggs. Diggs hasn't caught a touchdown pass in like six weeks now. But what are they doing? Running the ball, playing good defense. Allen is play action, get the ball out to his tight end, and let's go. So I think being at home is going to be a huge advantage to them. I think they do finally beat the Chiefs and get the Chiefs monkey off their back, and they get to the championship game.
Carson, Eddie's saying, I think they showed Eminem more than they showed Swift this weekend. LOL.
That's
true.
That
was epic seeing him. The crowd went nuts, obviously, when they showed him on the Jumbotron.
And Kenny's saying, yep, I agree. Mr. Belichick will be the next coach. Eddie's saying, Kurt, We're running past 9. You have a show at 10. You got to get ready for LOL. So, Mr. Rosen, I'm going to go to you. What else you got?
Okay. All right. Since we are running behind time, we talked about having a little Dallas tribute. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to do my Dallas tribute because they're just so easy to to take shots at. Because there's one thing we all can agree on: we all hate them Cowboys. So, uh, uh, this is all in fun. I'm going to say it right now. So any names, I'm going to plead the fifth. But hey, we're having a good time. That's all. Anyway, so here we go. Hi, I'm Paul Casey Kasem, and this is America Top 40, the top 40 hits of the week. We received a long distance dedication, which I want to read to everybody. Dear Mr. Kasem, I live in New Jersey and have been a New York Jets fan my whole life. However, for years, I have had a long distance bromance with Dak Prescott, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Mr. Kasem, can you dedicate a song for my long distance man crush, Dak Prescott? Signed, yours truly, John Beelan. Well, well, Johnny, I've got the perfect song for you. Okay. Here's Mr. Kasem's song for Johnny Beelan. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. It's the playoffs. Only the results never change. Every Sunday, it seems, we're wasting our time. Another Jerry World disaster where the faces are so cold. Super Bowls are remembered by fans that are old. They're the Cowboys. In the playoffs, they hide. Everybody wants them, dead, not alive. Wanted, dead, not alive. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. Dak is usually asleep, sometimes in a haze. Dak fans like Beelan are left in a daze. Cowboys' bad playoff play makes fans drink. That way the fans can't tell that they stink. They're the Cowboys. In the playoffs, they hide. Everybody wants them. Dead, not alive. Wanted, dead, not alive.
There you go, Mr.
Nice,
Rosen.
Paul. That was
There you go.
awesome.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Let the record show that Beelan said that Dak Prescott was a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford. The most blasphemous statement I've ever heard in my life.
Wait, Carson, I disagree with you. Super Bowl winning quarterback, Matt Stafford.
There you go.
I was also told that the Rams, and Kenny knows this one in a group chat, the Rams today, actually this was as of last year, the Rams still should have never made that trade for Stafford. This is after they won a Super Bowl, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
They
God.
still shouldn't have made the trade, and that they're done for the next 6 years. I'll take Matthew Stafford tomorrow, and I think the Rams are pretty damn good coming next year.
Yeah.
So, I
That
don't
trade
know.
literally changed our franchise forever. I mean, we don't get that deal done, we're still in purgatory.
Yeah. Listen, you know what? That trade worked out for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
It did. It worked out for the Rams, and it worked out for you guys. So,
hey, you win a Super Bowl, they would make that trade 10 times over.
Well, not the guy that Kenny and I was in a group chat with, because he said he still wouldn't. He wouldn't, and he said he wouldn't He said he wouldn't sign Peyton Manning again because he would have rather got a rookie quarterback that they could have developed to have for 17 years instead of having the Peyton Manning 4 years. Don't know what they're smoking there.
Really?
Don't know what they're smoking. They might be smoking. By the way, you guys got Carson. Have you watched the series Ted yet?
No, I want to watch it. It's on, it's on Paramount?
Yeah, I know it's on Peacock.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll watch it. Yeah, I love the first two movies. So
Talking
I'll
about
watch
smoke
even
and stuff,
more.
it's funny. We and
Yeah.
Jen watched it. But let's do this. Let's do closing thoughts. I'll go first, and I'm just gonna say it again. Just don't overpay for quarterbacks, and don't put, oh, this guy's Dak Prescott is not a franchise guy. Jalen Hurts is not a franchise. They're not worth the money. Those guys are. Matthew Stafford is worth the money because you know why? He delivered. He delivered when it mattered. He's a Super Bowl champion. And until you start winning playoff games and championship games, listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'd rather have Jared Goff than Dak Prescott. I mean, come on. It's not even close in my opinion. So anyway, Carson, good luck, man. I always say this is the best weekend of football when you have the divisional games. You got the best teams still in the league. And so listen, I'll be locked in, loaded, and go Knicks. Let's go. I'll keep Carson for last. Mr. Rosen.
Great show tonight, guys. Always a pleasure talking sports with you. A lot of fun. Carson, what can I say? Go get him this weekend.
Thanks.
And hopefully we'll be talking about the championship game next week. Kenny, we miss you. Brother, we'll see you next week.
Get your horse names going, Kenny. And and listen, again, you're the man of the hour, Mr. Shear. So it's up to you. It's your final thoughts. You got the final word.
Yeah, always great show, guys. Love talking sports with you all. Shout out to Paul and Kenny for putting together the agenda again. Shout out to
Thank you.
Kurt, always doing a good job hosting everything and making sure everything looks great. And like I said, I've never seen this ever in the history of my life, guys. 24, turning 25 this year. Lions won a playoff game, first time ever in 32 years. I'm so glad I took my grandma to the game. That's memory's going to last forever.
Yeah.
And we got to get it done, man. Divisional round. We got Baker Mayfield coming to our house. We're 6.5-point favorite. We got to step up. We can't overlook them. They're a good team as well. And let's go to a freaking conference championship game. Whoever we play, if it's the Packers, great. Yeah, I might die during the game. And if it's the Niners, bring it on.
Kenny saying, closing thought, great show, guys. Good luck, Carson. Tune in 10 p.m. Kurt will be throwing stuff at his camera with the fellow Bronco fans. I am doing my Bronco show. Thank you, Mr. Kirkpatrick. But guys, great show tonight. And Carson, hey, man, I'm pulling for you. I'm throwing some more dinero on your boy. So
Need some money.
Let's go.
All right, guys. Have a good
All
night.
right.